All right, good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday again, and it's time for your next increase class. Just really appreciate everybody joining me in, whether you're here on the live stream, on Zoom, you're watching on YouTube live stream, or maybe you're watching this recorded. So this week, we are talking about goal setting secrets. And if you joined us last week, you know that we talked about focus. The title was why your hard work isn't working. I really dug into hard work without focus will not achieve the result that you're after. And so we looked into some key components about focus, how to leverage that to get the most out of it and get the results that you're really after. And so we're going to build on that. We're going to build on that this week as we talk about goal setting secrets. My goal is that we're going to demystify goals, and we're going to make them accessible, and we're going to make them doable so that you'll start getting results. If you are watching on the YouTube live stream, it's not too late to join the Zoom call. I got a exclusive secret that we've reserved for the Zoom audience only. So I hope you on Zoom will stick around for it. There'll be a live Q&A on the Zoom, exclusive to Zoom only. So let's get right into it. So I'm in my mid-20s, and I had just started a business. And as I shared last week, things were going well until they weren't. And when they started going bad, I had to start educating myself. I had to take my game to another level, and I had to learn how to succeed in this small business game. And I went to seminar after seminar. I went to workshops about sales, about business, about networking. And if you go to many of those seminars, you're going to go to a goal setting workshop. You're going to be taught about SMART goals. You're going to be taught about how to set goals to achieve the things that you want in life. And I got so excited, and I would take all the notes. And when I would get back to the office, I wouldn't know what to do with it. And I'll be honest, I never set any goals, and I never had any goals to achieve because I didn't even know where to start. And so maybe you're like me. Maybe you're here and you know you've been told to set goals. You want to set goals, but you don't even know where to start, and so you don't. Now, that was 15 years ago, and I'm in my early 40s now. And it wasn't until the last few years when I began to understand these spiritual principles of increase, and I found a method of goal setting that finally worked. It took all the uncertainty out of goals, and I began to see them as empowering tools to achieve my goal, to achieve my goals, to achieve my dreams. Now, my prayer for you is, if you're younger than I am, maybe you're in your early 30s, or you're even younger than that, that it won't take you the next 15 years to learn what took me 15 years to finally learn. So we're going to dig into that tonight. So I like some quotes that we used last week when we're talking about focus, and we're going to shift those into goal setting and why focus is important to that. Kenneth Blanchard, author of The 1 Minute Manager, said, "What we give our attention to grows." T. Harv Eker wrote the Millionaire Mind, said, "Where attention goes, energy flows and results show." So what these gentlemen are saying is, if we can learn to put our attention on something that we want, energy will flow into it. Results will begin to show. Things that we want to see grow in life will. And so what we're talking about is goal setting, but let's just dispel some things. Why haven't goals worked? Why have you set goals but not accomplished them? I know I wrote plenty of goals down. I'd write them down. I'd write them in the formula they gave me at the seminar. I'd put them up real neat. They'd go in the filing cabinet, and I never see them again. And I never got the results that I hoped for. And I didn't know where to start. So why don't goals work? Let's just run through some things. And I hope I'm addressing your issue when in some of these plain and simple goals don't work. Goal setting doesn't seem to work when there's uncertainty, because bottom line, you don't set goals because you don't believe that you can accomplish them. So maybe you don't set goals because you haven't really decided what you want to even know where to start. You don't set goals maybe because you don't know what you're capable of. You don't even know what you can accomplish. So you're afraid to write something on a piece of paper. You're afraid to commit to something that maybe isn't possible for you. You don't set goals because maybe you just don't know whether you're worthy of a good life. that you should have a good life for all that you've done or from where you've come from. You don't set goals because you just don't know what to do now. You've written them on a piece of paper, but don't know where to even start. So let's start working on our goal setting framework. Let's start to dispel those issues that stand in our way so that hopefully we can start setting goals that work for us. And so the thing you got to know about goals is goals need faith and goals need clarity. I love what Tony Robbins says. He says, success loves clarity. Another quote from Tony Robbins says, complexity is the enemy of execution. So goals need faith. You must believe in them. And goals need clarity. So here's the critical points that we're going to get into tonight to understand goal setting. The first is to have faith and clarity. You have to have a context for your goal. Maybe you've written a goal, but you didn't know how it fit with the rest of your life. So you didn't even pursue it or didn't know where to start. For you to have faith and clarity in a goal, you've got to have a burning desire. You have to be emotionally engaged in what you want. It has to be worth pursuing. For you to have faith and clarity in a goal, it's got to be what Kevin Trudeau says. It's got to be in the sweet spot, which means that goal has got to be big enough to excite you, but it's got to be small enough to be possible. And then for you to have clarity for goals, you've got to have tactics in which to start getting traction. You have to have tactics to start to move your actions so that you really can start achieving them. So I want to lay out a framework for goal setting. I told you I found a book that really unlocked the secret. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. It's a book called The 12-Week Year. 12-Week Year. It's by Brian P. Moran and Michael Lennington. This is a book you need to pick up. What they lay out in here is the most concise goal-setting, goal-achieving method I've ever seen. And this clarity has allowed me to set goals that I've actually accomplished and set goals that are beginning to change our life and change our trajectory. So, they start with the understanding about the importance of goals. And they quote Yogi Berra here. And Yogi Berra is known for comical quotes that make you think. And Yogi Berra said, if you don't know where you're going, you'll end up someplace else. So that's the importance of goals in our life. If we haven't decided where we're going to go in life, we're not going to get there. We're going to end up someplace else. So what's the secret sauce right here? I'm going to make it really simple, but my hope is you'll hear enough here that you'll decide to buy the book and you'll dig into it. So this is the goal setting secret. Step one to setting goals that work is you've got to have that context, which means you've got to have a vision. So vision is going to take two forms in our life. We're first going to start with our aspirational vision, which means you're starting to think 20, 30 years in the future. You're taking the time to really think, what do I want my life to have accomplished? What's the legacy I hope to leave behind when I reach the end? What am I hoping is said about me? Or what do I hope that I've accomplished? And so the first vision is your aspirational vision. Now, it's not a goal. It's the context. It's the mountaintop that you're hoping to get to. It's as far as you can see. I love what Kevin Trudeau says. He said, go as far as you can see, and then you'll see further. And so you want to set an aspirational vision. Now, let me stop right there. And I know that this is something that we've all been told we need. We need a vision for our life, but this is another thing that's hard to do. And I think a lot of people stop short. Here's the secret about writing a vision for your life. What shuts most people down is they don't know how they'll ever get there. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that's not your job. What you need to start with is just knowing what you want, because here's the beautiful thing about the path that God makes for us. The how will present itself. The how is just a vehicle that takes you through one step of the journey to the next step of the journey. And the how will always present itself when you need it. For now, don't worry about the how, because if you're stuck worrying about what's possible and what you can or can't do, then your vision will be way too low. And the trajectory you start yourself will be way too small. So when we start with this aspirational vision, we're not worrying about how. We're really not worrying about whether anyone will approve. Ideally, this is something that you're probably embarrassed to share with people. This is something that feels like your deepest, darkest secret, because most of the time we feel guilty telling those around us and those that we love of the incredibly awesome things we hope to accomplish, oftentimes because we don't believe that we can, or we don't believe that we're worth it. Put that aside for now and start with an aspirational vision 20 to 30 years out. The second vision that you need is your 3-year vision. Again, this is still a vision. We're not writing goals yet. We're providing the context. We're providing the context that make these goals possible. You know, I love what Tony Robbins says. He says, people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 5 years. So in this 3-year vision, this is just out of arm's reach, but it's beginning to feel like what's possible. Probably there's going to be some things on there that feel a little bit of a stretch, and I hope they do. But you know that it's not as far out as that aspirational vision. 3-year vision. Think about that, what that might be. So we've provided the context, our aspirational vision, our 3-year vision. Now we're ready to set our goals. Here is, I think, this one of the secret sauces to the 12-week year goal setting methodology, and the reason they call it the 12-week year is they're encouraging you to break your year up into 12-week sections, but treat each 12-week as if it's its own year. The types of goals you would normally set that you would take you a year, you want to try to accomplish them in 90 days, in 3 months, and there'd be 4, which is a quarter of the year. One thing that they say in this book, the problem with 1-year goals are they're too far out there. They have too many steps. They're not clear. And so because there's that lack of clarity, there's normally things that we file away after we write them, and we don't make serious steps to get there. So here's a secret sauce. Your goals need to be things that you can accomplish in 12 weeks. Now, we talked last week about the power of focus, and I briefly mentioned that the human mind actually cannot multitask. As much as we pin the medal on the person in the office who can do so much and multitask, the reality is your mind cannot multitask. Your mind can really only do one thing at a time. And what happens is your mind is capable of switching back and forth very quickly. The problem is every time you switch back and forth, you have to readjust and recalibrate. So there's really a power in focusing on one thing at a time. And therefore your goals are the same way. Pick 2 to 3 goals, 2 to 3. That's it. 2 to 3 goals that you are going to focus on, that you're going to give everything to over the next 90 days. So choose them wisely. But if you start to write down everything that you really want to accomplish, when you really comb through them, you realize not every goal that you have are you really in position to do something about. Not every goal that you have, is it really the time or the season to do something about. But these goals that are 12 weeks, what you're doing is because we've set our context, these goals are the steps that we have in front of us to get us to these mile markers in our vision. So, as I said before, you can't worry about the vehicle that's going to get you to your vision. That how is actually not your job. The how will present itself. What you've got to know is the only how you have to worry about right now is where you're at. You start with what you have. You start with what's at your feet. And that's what a 90-day goal is. Where am I at right now? That if I would start pushing all of my energy into this one place, it would start to move me towards these things that I have written for my 3-year vision. And if I can hit these 3-year visions, I know that that is propelling me into my aspirational vision, which is 20 to 30 years out in the future. So you're going to take 12 weeks. Now, this is the part that I've never seen taught anywhere. The final step that they teach in this book that made all the difference for me and helped me get into a place where I could actually start setting goals that I could achieve, and I could start accomplishing things that I had always wanted to. In their final step was tactics. They say in this book that a vision without a plan is just a pipe dream. Isn't that how oftentimes our goals feel like? They feel like pipe dreams, and we don't even know how to get there. And we don't have a plan to get there. And so we give up on them before we've even started. And here's the work that you have to put in. And this will be so worth it if you will take the time to map out the tactics, which is the strategy, the actual actions that you need to do to achieve this goal. You'll be able to start getting momentum, and you'll have a plan. So let's give an example of a goal that I had and some tactics that I set. Let's make this real. So our family, we had a goal to purchase our first real estate investment property. And so that's a great goal. It's a great vision. It seems kind of easy. You just find something you like and you write up a contract. But when you look at anything like that, you realize when I go to start, I really don't know where to start. So we had to break down this goal that we were going to give ourselves 12 weeks to accomplish into what are the steps I've got to do. So when I started analyzing it, I realized I don't have an updated P&L, profit and loss statement for my businesses. I don't have a buying criteria of where we would want to buy and the type of thing that we would want. I have some other updated accounting needs. I need to clarify some banking things and get lender relationships that would even make purchasing such thing possible. So the goal itself had a number of steps that, had I not taken the time to plan out those steps, I would have never achieved them. So what do? We listed those steps, and those steps became our tactics. See, I really can't control the result, but what I can control is my activity. I can control the things that I do. And if I take the time to plan out my activity, that I can identify the actions that will actually get me there. So we wrote those things out. And in writing out those things that would all have to get accomplished, it was easy to see what needed to happen in what order. And we started mapping out the 12 weeks. You map out your tactics spread over the 12 weeks. So you're not going to try to get them all done the first week. Some things is a hurry up and wait game. If you're waiting on an accountant to send something back to you, or you're waiting on an offer to be accepted, or a lender to approve you for a property, it won't happen overnight. All I can control is my activity. So we mapped out the tactics over that 12 weeks. And we did those in a row, and one thing led to another. It was like knocking over dominoes. And as we knocked over dominoes, we got ourselves in order, but we also gained momentum. So by the end of the 12 weeks, we were in position to buy our first investment property, and we did. So let's review this for a second, because this is really the secret to goal setting. The problems we have with goal setting, as we remember, is we feel uncertain. We're uncertain about what we want. We're uncertain about what we can accomplish. We're uncertain about whether we are worthy of such a thing, and we're uncertain about what even to do next. So we need to put a context to our goals, and our goals should be things that move us towards the greater vision that we have for our lives. So we're going to take the time first to write an aspirational vision. What do I want my life to look like in 20 years? From that, I can begin to write a 3-year vision, which starts to map out what would need to have happened in the next 3 years to put me in position and on the path to get to that 20-year vision. Now, when I have that, now I'm ready to set goals. similar to last week's focus matrix. And if you're not familiar with the focus matrix, watch last week's class, but we talked about knowing your what and knowing your why, and then knowing your not. So having a matrix in which we're able to see our long-term vision, our medium-term vision, and then the goals that we think we can accomplish in the next 12 weeks. And if you'll take the time to go ahead and define those goals, and then you'll take the time to plan out the tactics and the activities that you have to do to get there, you'll be shocked at the momentum that you start to create and the energy that starts to move in your life to achieve those goals. So again, plug for the book, 12-week year. Hope you read it. We're going to go ahead and hit pause for YouTube Live. Appreciate you. If you can catch us live on Zoom, we appreciate you joining. And then we'll stick around for any of our Zoom audience who wants to do a Q&A, and we'll also do that exclusive goal setting secret that I promised at the beginning.